applications or approval of applications.
I have 6 o'clock, yep. I will call the November 17th, 2025 meeting of the Indianola City Council together. We'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You, clerk.
Councilmember Rabe?
Here.
Dalby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Beach? Here. Sons?
Present.
Lane?
Here.
Mayor Richardson?
Present. We have next on the agenda is public comment. I've got some comments here from people that have submitted online comments. I'll get to those in a few moments here. If anybody in the audience wishes to say anything, that now would be the time to do so. We try to limit these to between 3 and 5 minutes. So is there anybody who wishes to speak to the council in public open comment? Seeing none, before I read, yes, ma'am. Pardon me?
I do, yeah.
Come up to the podium. You'll need to fill out a form eventually, but give your name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Elena Rodriguez. My address is 7085 Bloomfield Road, Des Moines, Iowa.
Whenever you're ready.
I am here today as a representative of the Kappa Theta Psi fraternity, a local fraternity that exists only on Simpson College's campus. Our formation in 1902 established us as the first and oldest local fraternity west of the Mississippi River, and we have a rich history on campus and around the Indianola community, our birthplace. For without the town and all it has done for our alma mater, we could not continue to foster our ideals of friendship fellowship for so long. As all Greek houses should, we value our commitment to service, and we at COI especially value volunteering in our community. Given how much it has supported us over the past 123 years of our existence, in the early 2010s, we declared Kayakota Humane Animal Shelter our official philanthropic partner. We found this to be an amazing way to make a difference in the lives of Indianola residents, both humans and animals. We participate in the Hy-Vee partnership with Kayakota. We sponsor a receipt collection at our house from purchases made at the Indianola Hy-Vee and deliver these receipts to the shelter. So Kayakota may turn these receipts back in for assistance with purchasing supplies the shelter needs to care for its animals. We've been informed that the return on these receipts is probably less than 2%, and yet Kayakota remains grateful for every semester we visit to donate what we've collected. Additionally, we host approximately 6 philanthropy events per year on campus where we set up donations and speak about the animals who are in need of more support. We remind students that even the smallest donations can help the puppies and kittens. We also require to perform a minimum of 10 philanthropy hours per semester. Those who do not meet this amount are required to pay the fraternity an equivalent exchange of $2 per hour incomplete, up to $20 per member. This money is also collected and donated to Kayakota. And even though our fraternity is financially dependent on dues and miscellaneous fundraising events, we still invest in our community partner because of all that we see that it does for the town of Indianola and its people. And to skip forward a bit, members of our fraternity who have benefited from the usage of the 24/7 hour animal drop-off policy that Kayakota has. One, Simon Hamlin, has found a cat on the sidewalk outside of a fraternity house earlier in the spring semester, and because of this service was able to find its owner. And a little bit about me, I guess, why I'm here today. I have a domestic short-hair cat named Jack. He is more than I could ever actually ask for in a companion, and having him at home while I'm away at college breaks my heart every single day. I let my siblings care for him since I'm away at college, but to be honest, and to kind of skip ahead, he got out one day. We couldn't find him. Our trailer park manager when we went to go look for him, to report him missing, he was there sleeping on the carpet, and they were understanding, and I feel like the city of Indianola holds these same values and cares towards this nonprofit organization. They provide the level of care and understanding that the ARL is kind of not equipped to give these animals to the same level. Being a resident of Des Moines and not Indianola, I've been to the ARL several times. Honestly, when I go in there, the animals are low-key depressed. What we're losing with the termination of this contract is honestly the trust and faith that we've put into our neighbors and community. that I've been a part of for 3 years as I've resided with my fraternity and fellowship in the city of Indianola. Although I claim to be a bigger part of this community, I'm just me, and at least I can say to this day, I still check the Chi Code of Facebook every single day to see if anybody is missing their best friend. And what I see is that they have a meal, a roof over their head, and are being taken care of in the meantime. I know that without this contract, the city of Indianola is looking to terminate with Caracota for the service of their animal control services. The shelter cannot guarantee that every animal that goes missing will be picked up by an animal control and reside in Indianola, but we have constant communication in these services to the community here.
Thank you. Please make sure our clerk has your name and address, please. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this topic or any topic? I do have two members of the Mayor's Youth Council here. Would you gentlemen please stand up and tell us who you are, please?
My name is Carter Larson, and I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
My name is Tate Brewer, and I'm also a sophomore at the Indianola High School.
Thank you, gentlemen. Glad you're here. We also have some members of John Pauly's class here. John, what's your class?
It's called Critical Thinking and Systems.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else on public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rig.
Aye.
Dalby.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Page.
Aye.
Stones. Lane.
Motion carries 6-0. We're on to council reports. We have a presentation regarding the fiscal year 25 audit. Robert Denman, I believe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Robert Undrist. I'm a partner with Denman CPAs out of West Des Moines. Denman's had the privilege of doing the audit work for the city of Indianola now for the past several years. Our team was on site. All right, thank you. Back in, what was it, late August, early September, going through our audit procedures here. We do have that independent auditor's report to share with you. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through it already. It's a fun document to read. We're going to do this a little bit more abbreviated so that you don't have to be here all night with me. But we will go over that independent auditor's report here very briefly. Take a minute just looking at some summarized financial information for the city for the year ended June 30, 2025. And then a few comments regarding controls and compliance to share with you this evening as well. Starting on the independent auditor's report, which I believe you can find about page 4 of that bound document, just a couple reminders with that 3-page letter. The financial statements we're about to look at are management's financial statements. Management's responsible for ensuring that they are complete and accurate, that they conform with accounting standards, that they have controls in place to support the accuracy of those financial statements. Our responsibility as your auditor is to perform that audit and to express an opinion on whether or not we do believe management's financial statements are accurate. We are issuing what we call unmodified opinions on these financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance our profession can provide regarding the accuracy of management's financials. I will note a couple of just quick highlights there as well. You are using what we call the cash basis of reporting the city of Indianola is. That is very common for cities this size, but bear in mind you're not looking at payables, you're not looking at receivables or capital assets or debt. It's purely following cash. Again, very common accounting practices for cities this size, but if you're looking for that information, it's not going to be there because of the accounting model that the city uses. I will also note that Indianola Municipal Utilities, which is what we call a component unit, is excluded from these financial statements because they are audited separately and they had their audit report shared with that board of trustees just last week. So if you're looking for that information, you'll need to steal that report to kind of accumulate both of those records together. Taking a very quick look here at summarized financial statements for the city for the year ended June 30, 2025. You have the prior year there to compare against as well. Total cash receipts for the city just a shade under $30 million, down a little bit from the prior year, almost exclusively due to some grants received in the prior period for capital projects. I believe the streetscape projects in particular were in fiscal year 2024. Expenditures, cash basis expenditures, little north of 36 million compared to 32.5 million the prior year. So a bump in the current year driven by capital projects within those business type activity funds. Change in net position, a deficit of $7 million, which is a big scary number, but bear in mind with how cities fund projects, you're going to bond and receive all that cash, and then over several years you're going to spend. And that's exactly what's happening this year. You don't have any bonding coming in this year, but you have those capital project expenditures which are occurring this year. So a very common kind of flow of events that you're seeing in fiscal year 2025 with that drawdown of cash balances. This is a quick snapshot of those fund balances that the city has at the end of the fiscal year. You add up all those parts of the pie, it's about $26 million in cash on hand at the end of the fiscal year. Just taking a quick highlight here on a couple items that you're going to see around this pie chart. Starting in the top right-hand corner, capital projects. We'll round up, call it $3.7 million. That's the fund that had that drawdown during the year, about $4.5 million drawdown as you expended funds for capital projects during the year. That's, again, a very normal process for cities as they accumulate funds through bond proceeds and then spend them down as those projects are completed. A couple other ones I wanted to highlight for you here. Right next to capital projects, the other governmental funds, that's mostly your road use tax. That's sitting on roughly 12 months of expenditures and fund balance. So that's a very healthy fund balance there. Bottom, internal service funds, that's predominantly your health pool. And that too has a very healthy, I think right around $2.5 million fund balance, about a year and a half of expenditures saved in fund balance there. Left-hand side, general fund and urban renewal tax funds sitting on 6.5 each. We're going to spend a minute looking at those in a little bit more depth here in just a moment. And speaking of which, one of the ways we can look at the fiscal health of a city is looking at specifically at that general fund and the amount that fund balance is compared to your annual expenditures. So here's a 5-year trend line of the fund balance of the general fund. I almost didn't include this year because it doesn't look pretty. But there's a lot of context here that we need to place on this schedule as you see that drawdown in general fund balance. Two things in particular, between 23 and 24, there wasn't a drawdown of funds, it was a reallocation. The city had created a equipment replacement fund, which is an internal service fund, and funded it through general fund balances. It also moved out Indianola Wellness Campus as that stood on its own in fiscal year 2024. So bear that in mind, that dip in that year is driven by those events, not necessarily spend down to general fund assets. Also, bear in mind as well, what we typically consider to be a healthy fund balance is somewhere between 90 and 180 days. That's generally considered to be best practice for general fund balances. And you go back to 2021 and it was well over that. It was very, very significant fund balance. We're today at 176 days. So certainly you're seeing a drawdown of general fund balances, but to put that in context, you've really drawn it down to a healthy normal versus a pretty robust and substantial fund balance that was there 3 or 4 years ago. So admittedly, you are running a bit of a deficit in the general fund. There are some one-time events that are driving that deficit in fiscal year 2025. By the same token, you've got it back to a more of a normalized range. There's a good 20 pages of footnote disclosures which follow the financial statements. They are a tough read, I won't deny it, but just a couple of highlights here to save you a little bit of time. I'll point you to note 3, which looks at the long-term debt of the city. A total of 5 general obligation and revenue bonds are outstanding at the end of the year, totaling about $66 million in total outstanding debt obligations at the end of the fiscal year. Fund 9 does, note 9, excuse me, does also reflect some internal balances that have been borrowed within the funds, totaling about $1.4 million. Again, a very common practice for cities as they look to fund certain projects. And then finally, the Indianola Wellness Campus end of the year with a deficit balance of about $180,000. So I wanted to note that as well. Along with our work on the financial statements, that opinion I mentioned previously, we also have some responsibilities over internal control and compliance. We don't audit internal control, but we do gain an understanding of those control processes. And as we gain that understanding, we have a responsibility to tell you about deficiencies we identify. And then finally, the state asks us to look at certain compliance requirements as part of our audit as well. So we do have 2 statutory required compliance items here, both of them pretty incidental. One related to the budget. The city overexpended on a budget function this year. And second related to that wellness campus, which we just mentioned, that deficit fund balance. Again, required statutory findings, but not material ones by any stretch. We did not have any identified deficiencies in control processes. We have 2 other letters, excuse me. One we call our governance letter, which is really our opportunity to tell you about things we care about, things that are worrying to us, that we think warrant your attention. That letter, frankly, doesn't have anything interesting in it. which is good news. You don't like interesting governance letters. I don't like issuing them, but you have that there. I do encourage you to look at it. The last letter is what we call a recommendation letter. It isn't a deficiency. It is not non-compliance pertaining to the TIF fund. Over the past several years, the TIF fund has grown to a very significant fund balance. It's about 4 years of annual expenditures as it sits today. That's not wrong. You are within your compliant with how that fund is currently being structured. But in our conversations with city staff, there's been quite a bit of transition in that finance department over the past couple of years, and the strategy behind doing that seems to have been lost a little bit. So our challenge to city staff was make sure, hey, if this is what you want to do, you're not non-compliant, you're allowed to do it, but make sure it's intentional, make sure it's part of the city's plans and really is serving the city's best interests. So that was a recommendation to staff. I get the impression that staff's going to bring it up to you guys in a study session in the near future to look at that, make sure that the TIF fund is being executed in a manner that's in the city's best interest. That was a pretty quick rundown on a pretty dense document. Can I stop here and answer any questions from council?
So you mentioned how we're on the cash-based financing.
Yes.
And then there's the other option. Can you go over the two options, the pros and cons to both? I know it's kind of come up in the past a few times, so.
Yeah, so the traditional, and for lack of a better word, accounting models, what we call the accrual basis, where you're not looking at simply you're following cash as well, but you're also looking at the substance of the transaction when it occurred. So when you build a road, it's not just a disbursement, you built an asset. And you're going to track that asset over that asset's life. When you take on debt, it's not just cash receipts. You have an obligation to pay on that debt, and you're tracking those long-term liabilities over the length of that debt. The advantage of that is a more comprehensive basis of accounting. Typically, your bonding agencies like full accrual financial statements. I think the average is you save about 0.25% on rates, which if you have $100 million outstanding, starts to add up pretty quick. The disadvantage of it is immensely difficult to build up those processes. It's very burdensome on staff, and it makes the darn financial statements even harder to read. We have had a look at with a couple other metro communities at where the tipping point is, and you got to be around $100 million in debt outstanding and getting very clear messages from Moody's that this is going to help you before we would advocate for making that transition.
Okay.
I think you're ready to go on if you got some more.
Thank you.
Are you done?
That's it. I'm good.
Okay, I do have one question.
Yes.
I guess I thought you had a little more to go there, I'm sorry. There's been some discussion about cities having some trouble with internal controls and things along that line. Just to reiterate again, you've found none of that here and that we've done a pretty darn good job of keeping things in line of where we need to be, is that correct?
Yes. We don't, again, test all control processes, so it's possible that control deficiencies exist that we're not going to identify during the course of a financial statement audit. I will also say that, your staff is stretched thin. You have a small finance department, not uncommon for a city your size, but it is a thin group. But we did not identify any deficiencies in control procedures or deficiencies in practices that we would think to be unusual for a city of your nature and size.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Sorry, Robert, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate Councilmember Armstrong's question about different bases of accounting. I know you, obviously, we're on the cash basis here. You talked about the full accrual system. This is just more for my familiarity with Iowa. Do you have many cities using the modified accrual? Because that's basically what I've been used to in my past. So I'm just kind of curious if you find many using the modified accrual system.
So effectively, the full accrual is the modified accrual.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're seeing those larger metro communities, Waukee, Urbandale, Johnston, you take that run around that northwest corner. They're all using that model of accounting, but they're also sitting on multiple times GeoBond debt that you have.
Any other questions from council? Staff? Thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, council committee reports. Do we have any?
I've got one. I attended the IMU meeting last week, and as you just heard, that they got their audit report and went quite well. Also, other things that came up is the solar project. All the panels are installed. they're doing some wiring and testing yet remains. The water department, are having a roof replaced, and, that was built in 96, I believe they said, so they've got, their money's worth out of that roof. Pickard Commerce project completed. They were having to deal with some more main breaks. And in addition to that, they've been busy doing meter replacements with the good weather that we've had. So they're trying to stay out in front of that, and doing as much outside as can be done. I would tell you probably the most notable thing, other than Doug's presentation, Chris Longer will be retiring. And I believe, if I wrote it down right, it's January 23rd will be her final day there. And they didn't say how long she's worked from you, but I know it's been a long time with community. So that's my report.
Thank you.
I
Anyone
have,
else? Go ahead.
I have some things for Main Street and the events happening this weekend. The Main Street Home for the Holidays event is Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. At 7:30 will be the lighted parade, and if you are not signed up yet, you still have time. You can go to Indianola Hometown Pride's Facebook page to find the link for that. We would love to have you as part of that. You have until noon on Friday to get your registration in. We have made the route longer this year to try to avoid some of the congestion that we had last year, so that should be great. You are hearing it here first. The community tree will be back for the second year. We're moving a 30 to 35 foot tree again onto the Justice Center lawn on Friday of this week. That will be happening around 8 a.m. It's coming from here in town, so we welcome anyone to come out and watch that process happen. We expect the crane that's bringing it in to, again, arrive around between 8 and 8:30. The area will be roped off for safety, but you can watch it from the Justice Center steps. And that should be a lot of fun.
Anybody else have any other comments? Okay, no other council reports. Let's move on to the treasurer's report. I need a motion. Let's take a look first. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions for Doug on the treasurer's report?
I was just gonna say it's a great evening because we've got two financial reports. A little story about Robert. I had an investment class at Simpson, and he was in the class, and he made a recommendation to there was generally 5 or 6 students that we buy Netflix and for $4. And they still have it today, and it's more than $1,200 a share, so he's a real hero over at college. It was real money, you know, it wasn't like, okay, play money and we'll buy this and we'll buy that and see how we end up. Actually, it was, at the time, I think we had about 400,000. And I think Todd Kilkoff is now the instructor, and he said that they've kept the Netflix, so it's good. All right, the report. Council is kind of a little bit of a mixed bag because some of the numbers are through August 31st, which is a 2-month period. And then some of the numbers in here really are about 4+ months. And I think the key to what we have is that at this point, most of the funds are within budget, so to speak, and that would be somewhere around 42% of revenues and spending. And, you know, he, in the report that Robert gave, their fund balances have come down. I usually go back a year and compare the fund balances to what we have this year, and they're down about $850,000, but I think that's normal, and as he indicated, 180 some days or whatever it is more than adequate, which is more like normal. Before we were, you know, maybe excessive, but anyway, that's my report, subject to any questions you all might have. And if I can't answer them, I'll just have Robert.
He just gritted his teeth. Council have any questions for Doug? Doug, before you get off there, a couple things real quickly. Are some of these funds that I see in the negative, are those, maybe Jackie can answer too, but some of the funds that are in the negative here, are those subject to transfers based on the funds? For instance, I see Hillcrest here, there's a couple of other ones.
Yep, once we get K Street done, we'll transfer some money
Yeah.
over.
I think there were 4 of them.
Yeah, okay. And then the other question is, are there any funds here that will have some property taxes injected at the end of the third quarter? Is that when we get some property tax revenue as well?
Yeah, we got it, yep. 001 will be the biggest one, and then you'll see in future reports that police, fire, ambulance, library, those are all moved up to the 001, so that's gonna
Okay.
change quite a bit.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Nope. I take a motion then to receive and file the August 25 Treasurer's Report.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Simmons?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Dolby?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. On to the mayor's report. Community update. As Melissa said, I was gonna talk about a couple things here. The Mayor's Youth Council will be at Harrison's Building that Saturday night. I believe they will be there starting at 6 p.m. I know that they're going to be doing some decorating as well through this week, and that Santa will be there. So folks that want to bring their kids in and write letters to Santa are more than welcome to do that. November 30th is Small Business Saturday. Shop local for some unique gifts. Donation drive for Helping Hand of Warren County. Indianola Parks and Recreation, Indianola Public Library, and the Indianola Wellness Campus are teaming up to support Helping Hand of Warren County this holiday season. From now through December 10th, donation bins will be available to collect personal care items for local families in need. And again, that's the Indianola Park and Rec at 2204 West 2nd on Highway 92. Indianola Public Library at 207 North B, and the Wellness Campus, 306 East Scenic Valley Drive. The Access Management Plan Open House tomorrow, November 18th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Indianola Activity Center. Attend to preview preliminary access concepts and share feedback. I believe that's on what the subcommittee talked about, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, on the west side? Is the access? No?
This is the east side.
East side, I'm sorry, yes, on the east side project, yeah, I'm sorry, yep. Start open house for long-range transportation plans on Thursday, December 4th from 15 a.m. till noon. Did that get moved to the library then? Yes. Yep,
Yes,
okay.
it was always at the library. They just moved the library with the city hall address, but
There
it's
you
been
go,
corrected.
okay. I will be attending the National League of Cities Annual Summit this week in my role as president-elect of the Iowa League of Cities. And I hope to be back in time for home for the holidays. Hopefully my planes will all be on time. So. With that said, we'll move into public consideration and old business. We have the third consideration on adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 66, load and weight restrictions for establishing truck routes. I have a motion and a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Jackie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Rabe?
Aye.
Dolby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
No.
Beach? No. Simmons?
Aye.
Lane?
Motion carries 4-2. Next item up is a resolution terminating the contract between the City of Indianola and Kyakota. I have some items to read here. I think I'll read these now since this would be germane. We'll go ahead then and,
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
we were gonna flip these two items.
oh, that's right. Do we need council approval to do that?
No, because you still provided notice, so
Okay.
don't care what order you take it in.
Okay. So we're gonna go with number 3 then, the resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Indianola and the Animal Rescue League of Iowa for shelter services. Need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
Mayor, may we staff
Yes.
presentation?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Staff is bringing forward an agreement with ARL for animal control services based on previous city council discussion. Key points of the agreement include the city would pay ARL on a per animal basis if the holding period is exhausted without reclamation. The city would pay $226 to ARL per animal based on a 7-day holding period. This amount could be reduced to $179 for dogs if the city adopts a shorter holding period ordinance based on ARL's recommendation. The city would not pay ARL if an animal is reclaimed within the holding period. The city would be responsible for transporting animals to the ARL facility. And ARL will provide the city with 2 chip readers to assist with identifying pet owners, and will also provide training up to 2 times per year on animal handling best practices for our officers. The agreement duration is for 1 year with automatic renewal. Either party can terminate the agreement at any time with 60 days written notice. If the city moves forward with ARL, there will be several follow-up items to include a trap neuter release ordinance for cats, internal stray animal policy, and potentially a holding period ordinance if council had interest in shortening those times in line with ARL's recommendation. ARL is currently working with Carlisle on situations involving a bite, neglect, or dangerous animal without a formal agreement in place. Norwalk has had an agreement in place with ARL for many years, with the most recent going into effect in May 2023. Since July 1st of 2023, ARL has taken 3 dogs total to ARL with no charge to the city, as all owners had reclaimed those animals within that holding period. The city attorney has reviewed the ARL agreement, and we do recommend approval of it. Up to this point, I did have in my notes that we were continuing to try to work with Kayakota on finding a user fee model that may be of interest to both parties. Staff did receive communication this afternoon that Kayakota is not interested in pursuing a user fee model at this time. They would only wish to continue providing animal control services to the city under a contract similar to the one that's already in place. As a follow-up to last discussion at last city council meeting, there was a request for a flow chart to kind of show for council and the public how the current process works for animal control and how the process would work under the proposed ARL agreement for both dangerous, vicious, or bite animals or just run-of-the-mill stray animals. So I'm going to kick it over to Interim Chief Rob Hawkins, who will kind of give an overview of the current process as well as the proposed process. I do want to note and accommodate Rob as well as Aaron Young, Communications Manager, who worked diligently to prepare this and get this ready for this evening's presentation, as well as going a step further to meet with the Chief of Norwalk this afternoon, Police Chief of Norwalk, and their communications specialist to ensure that our processes and information we're sharing does hold and align with the processes used in our neighboring community.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Interim Chief Rob Hawkins. As City Manager Jake Meshke said, we've got up here the current process for collection of stray animals in Indianola. When we receive a report, we respond, take any enforcement action, whether it's citing someone for dog at large, handling any incident reports for bites, anything like that. We contact Kayakota, potentially, and they take the animal if it's contained. Once the animal gets to Kayakota, they will then either have the owner reclaim the animal or the animal will remain at Kayakota. And as you can see in the flow chart, if the owner reclaims the animal, under the current agreement, city and the owner pay fees for that collection of the animal. And if the animal remains at Kayakota unclaimed, then the city pays the fees under the current agreement as it stands today. So if we, does anybody have any questions about the current process as it stands?
Would those fees be on top of our $4,500 monthly contracted amount?
The fees that we pay, yeah, I mean, that's part of it.
Part of, okay.
Yes, sir.
And we pay that fee whether they take in an animal or not.
Correct. Think of it like a retainer. Okay, if there's not any questions, we will actually move on to the next slide where we're gonna propose the process for aggressive or bite animals, specifically for ARL. In the event of an aggressive or an animal that bites, we'll call the police department, we'll respond, we'll enforce. Obviously, we're gonna attempt to locate the owner. This is where it does get a little bit nuanced because in our city ordinance, if an animal bites and they need to be quarantined by our ordinance, the homeowner can actually quarantine the animal at home. So there is no requirement for us to take the animal to ARL. The only reason we do that under this situation would be if we can't locate the owner or the owner has no adequate way to quarantine the animal. If they do, then the preference is for them to maintain and quarantine the animal, which most pet owners want to do because it's their animal. So,
Just a second on that. That's not any different than what we do currently with Coda then. Would they want to personally quarantine the animal? Can they do that under the current contract with Coda?
yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So there's no difference there. Okay.
There is no difference. So again, if we do deliver the animal to the ARL, which again, the owner can also take the animal to ARL. It doesn't necessarily have to be PD. So, because there's no statutory requirement for us to do that because they can quarantine the animal at home. So if they don't feel like they can provide it, they would rather take the animal up there in lieu of us doing it, which again, pet owners, you know, even if their animal bites someone, they tend to, you know, care about their animals, don't necessarily want them to come with us. So they would probably drive the animal there themselves. So, but there's some different options there. But once the animal's delivered to ARL, the owner reclaims the animal after any appropriate time there, pays fees, proof of rabies. The city would not pay any fees. And then if there is no reclaim where the ownership would transfer to the ARL, then the city would pay the fee that Jake mentioned earlier in his comments. So that would be the process that we would use for aggressive or bite animals with ARL. So if any questions on that particular process? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide, which will be for stray animals. A lot of bubbles there, but at the end of the day, the process becomes more, again, nuanced. Citizens, we're gonna encourage them to post on social media. And hopefully the citizens will contain the animal. Citizens will try to locate the owners. And we see that a lot anyway when animals are found wandering around. People will post a picture on Facebook saying, hey, my black lab, is missing. Or somebody says, I found a black lab over on Buxton, whatever it is. So there's different ways for people to handle the stray animals being located. They might just, ignore it too. I mean, that's something that a lot of people do. They'll see a stray animal and they just move on with their day if that animal's not aggressive or it's not lingering, if it's just moving on through a neighborhood. In any of those scenarios, city does not pay a fee. If the animal, if the citizen tries to locate the owner, they'll take it to the ARL or release it. If the animal lingers, you can call us. We'll come and try to evaluate if we can contain the animal or not. If it's aggressive or not, we may have to take next steps. ARL is willing to do some training for our officers in dog handling. Obviously, we would need to purchase the protective equipment, things like that, for the animals to be handled safely by our officers. If we do have to respond, we'll enforce any applicable code and certainly try to locate the owner. Chip readers are going to be involved with the ARL contract, which would allow us to maybe potentially identify dogs through that manner. And I don't know what the success rate of that would be, so I'm not prepared to answer that tonight. But anyway, if we take the animal to ARL by police or if a citizen takes the dog to ARL, if it's reclaimed, the city would not pay any fees. If there is no reclamation of the animal, then the city would pay the fee that, again, was referenced earlier in this presentation. So to be fair and honest, most of this is online with what we already do. There's not gonna be much deviation from it. I also think the amount of times that we are gonna take an animal to our ARL is undetermined as of right now, but there's a lot of options for the animals to not go to the ARL, which is obviously, I think, everyone's best interest. So I'm done with the processes pending any questions that you may have.
No questions, Rob, but just, I thought it was helpful to see this too, to see city does not pay fees when owner is reclaimed, the owner's paying it. That for me, through this whole process has been the big thing of owner accountability when they have their animals, so, it was just nice to see that, cause right now it's not on a, per animal basis, it's a lump sum as opposed to, if somebody goes and picks it up, we're still paying anyway. Owner might pay Kayakota, they might not, kind of depends, it's a little crapshoot sometimes, from talking to people, so I thought that was helpful to kind of see that end outcome in terms of like our finances and budget, so I appreciate this, like, thanks for that.
Welcome.
And I know we'll have more communication to come, so.
I think it's important to note, Aaron Young will be working with further communication pieces as this thing goes through as well, to inform the public about what the options are and what that looks like.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna,
Go ahead.
I think that's gonna be important, getting the communication out there and making sure that the public knows what to do, and that taking them to Kayakota is an option perhaps, but they're gonna have to pay the fee that Kayakota requires of them if we do that. But this is our new process. Should it pass tonight?
This is the proposed process, should it pass tonight.
Correct.
We've worked on this fairly extensively, and we feel very comfortable with the process and how we would be able to staff this in the event that we need to do transports.
I do have a question. In this situation where the dogs are at large and the owners are reclaiming them, I know we are not currently doing it, I don't believe, but issuing a ticket to them.
That is not factual. We actually do cite, we have a
Okay.
history of
I
citing
wasn't-
animals at large under Indianola Ordinance 55.08.
So you're getting that information from Kayakota?
What's that? When our officers respond and we're made aware of a violation,
Okay.
then we will cite as appropriate.
So in this situation, can we get information from ARL and further that?
Well,
Or,
especially with us, if we're in the situation where we're transporting animals to ARL, we're certainly gonna do an investigation and try to determine who the owner is for obvious reasons. I mean, number one, it's a dog at large situation, but then secondly, from a fee standpoint, if we can identify the owner, then that onus slips to the owner of the animal rather than the city.
and try to recoup the fees that we are paying?
Correct. I mean, if there's a citation issued.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't get all of the fee, is that right? We get a sliver of the pie.
Yeah, it's a simple misdemeanor violation.
Yeah.
It's not gonna break the bank by any means.
Right. What is, out of curiosity, what is the fee structure for?
That is set by a judge, so
Okay.
there is no
Out of your
set
hands.
fee like a traffic citation. It's set by a judge.
Your simple misdemeanor is a range and could also include jail time. So usually between 1 and 500 for your first offense, and then potential for jail time. You could change that to a scheduled fee. Many cities have scheduled fines for their dog animal at large citations, if you wanted to set how much that was going to be.
May I ask a question? Could we set that fee to align with recouping administrative time associated with this? So if we know that we were to pay ARL $226, could you make a case to set the fee for the judge to basically accommodate that?
So generally, if these go to trial, or if we request a specific judgment on it, we would be proposing a fine. And a lot of times that proposed fine, well, usually for first infractions, it's usually the minimum. So it's probably $100 plus court costs. We don't get the court costs. And then if it's additional ones, we could certainly propose based on the cost incurred by the city. If we did it as a civil infraction, it would be a minimum of $750. I'd have to look into that further, whether or not we could write it as a civil infraction. That would certainly recoup.
I think we get into dangerous territory if we hold that high. Animals will go unclaimed.
But this is assuming that,
This would be the fine, though. It wouldn't matter if the animal
right,
was
but I'm
reclaimed or
getting,
not.
I'm getting to a point here though too. So in Melissa's case though, if you've got an animal that's taken to ARL, and correct me if I'm wrong on what you're saying here, that if we identify that owner then can reclaim that animal at that point in time. We don't pay any fees at all then, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
We would just have.
So this would only be a situation where after the number of days that we have for that owner to claim before we are charged, which is what, 7 days, I believe it is, or something along that line?
The baseline of the ordinance is 7 days,
Yeah.
or I mean of the agreement, is 7 days. ARL's recommendation is to go to 5 days for dogs and 3 days for cats, but that's something that could be considered.
Right now, we're
another
at
day.
seven, we're at 7 though right now, so in that particular case, the owner, if we finally identify who the owner is, or they call up and say, hey, I'm missing my dog, and you say, by the way, we just took that to ARL, they claim it, we aren't charged anything.
That's correct.
But you could issue a citation currently under that for the dog at large.
Potentially,
Yes.
yes. I mean, it's always situationally dependent. There's factors.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's a small child that accidentally opens
Right.
up the screen door and the dog gets out, you know.
Right.
You have to kind of take the totality of the circumstances in
Right.
For charging decisions.
Right. Melissa, are you finished? Did you have some more questions?
Yeah, I guess trying to change behavior and lower the instances where the same dog is getting out and we're dealing with the same animals over and over. And maybe solving a problem with the fee that we're gonna pay.
I think that's something we can look at as we move forward and take a look at that if that's something of interest to the council. Bob, you had a question?
No, I was just gonna say, I applaud you the two of you for working through this, because I know it's not easy, and I think it's, as you said earlier, Rob, nobody really wants to do this or have to take dogs up there, cats up there. But it's kind of where we are with the budget and everything right now, I understand that. But I do agree with what Melissa said, communication and getting it out there as much as we can. And Aaron, I've got full confidence that you'll do that. This isn't a judgment. I think that'll be real important so that the community is aware of how things are handled. And like any change, we're gonna stumble a little bit to get into it. That's to be expected, I think. But
We've done a lot of discussion internally with communications as well as us and city manager about that piece, the communication to the public and the expectations and what the service would look like. And
appreciate this.
Jake, you said Kyakota had no interest in discussing a pay per service.
Yeah, that was the text I received earlier today, just following up on their board meeting last Tuesday. They said that based on their financial situation, they wouldn't be interested in a user fee model, and that the only way that Kyakota could continue to provide animal control service to the community would be under kind of an umbrella contract. Retainer, as Rob mentioned, that set fee every month, whether we kind of use the service or not. So that was really the only option they provided this time if we were to continue a relationship with them.
I do have a question, what we're gonna do with cats and the trap neuter release?
Yeah, so the component for cats in this would be the trap neuter release program. I was actually just reading an article today through the International City County Management Association that these are really gaining popularity throughout the country right now. So we're seeing this regionally, we're also seeing it nationally through trap, neuter, release enabling ordinances. We've talked to our attorney. I believe Windsor Heights is in the process of approving one, or has actually recently approved one, but it really is just kind of enabling legislation to allow for a trap, neuter, release program to go into effect, and they're actually finding some success of citizens taking the lead on that as earlier speaker mentioned, as a volunteer effort, and really is a goodwill effort towards the community. So we would certainly be looking at a trap, neuter, release ordinance in accordance with our, if this agreement moves forward with ARL. And again, that was something I learned, that it's not necessarily the city needs to take the lead on or necessarily expend funds on. It's more of enabling legislation to allow for those programs to happen in our community and really control the cat population that way. Again, through the scope of the agreement, it's not necessarily how we're seeing our peers in Carlisle and Norwalk use it, but we could always take cats up to ARL if the need arose. I think that would be probably a limited situation, so our focus would really be on population control through trap, neuter, release, but ARL does exist as an outlet for cats if we were to find a situation where we needed to take them there.
You have a question?
Not a question, just kind of comments. So kind of just wanted to talk about why we're looking at this and how this all came about, just so the public knows, like, this isn't because we don't like animals. Like, I have cats. I know Melissa has dogs, cats. We all have, I don't know if we all have pets, but a lot of us have pets. And so it's not about that. It's about current model and our finances. And, you know, Mayor, you mentioned, like, we're looking at another 2% rollback deduction on property tax revenue. Councilmember Stones shared a great article the other day. The Governor Reynolds has said, we're gonna crack down even more on property tax reform. So there's more coming in terms of property tax reform and the decrease in rollback. This is purely about how do we still provide a service in the best way that we can. As Governor Reynolds even said, cities are gonna have to start providing less services. And as we're gonna continue to see more restrictions placed on us with property tax reform and rollbacks going down and no backfill, you know, we don't have supplemental state aid coming to save us like other entities do. We have to figure out the most efficient and effective way to still try to provide a service. So that's why we're looking at this and why I'll be going the way that I'm going tonight. So I just think people need to know that. I don't think they fully understand what is happening in terms of property tax reform and what it's doing to cities.
Other comments? Rob, do you have anything else, or is that your presentation?
That's it for tonight, unless anyone has any other questions.
I
Prepared
have
to
one
answer.
more comment if I may. I'm not sure if our earlier speaker was still here or not, but I thought it was very interesting during the public comment section. They'd referenced that the first thing they do is they go on Facebook and they look to see the animals that are currently being housed at Kayakota. And I just think it's interesting because that really fits in line with the messaging we've received from ARL, as well as the same messaging we've received from our peers over in Norwalk, is just the success that they've been having through Facebook and social media. And that's really, when you go to the City of Norwalk's website, they recommend the first step a citizen takes if they see a stray animal is to snap a picture of it, give a brief description, post it on any of the City of Norwalk pages, and that really seems to take care of a vast majority of the instances they're seeing with these stray animals. So I just wanted to comment that I thought it was interesting that as we received public comment earlier, the first thing they said they do is they go to Facebook. I think that's a trend that we're really seeing, and it's a really successful tool of how we're rehoming these animals and getting them back where they belong. And at the end of the day, that's why, you know, we put this process together to say that really social media is a good friend to us in this process to rehome those animals in a cost-effective way.
Rob, so you guys worked with the peer community as well, right, on this process flow that a community that has enacted maybe a similar flow and it's working well for them?
Yes, sir. We met with, via Teams, Aaron Young and I met with Chief Staples and the Marketing Communications Director from Norwalk this afternoon. We walked them through the processes that I just walked council through tonight. And basically, step by step is the process they use as well. And they've had really good success with it. And Chief Staples is thrilled with how it's going. And it's been really from a financial perspective for the city of Norwalk, really low risk. So not much usage. So, I mean, so from a financial perspective, it's definitely a win.
Any other questions for Rob?
No, I would just say that the unfortunate part is I believe all of us would like to keep the animals in our community. We just couldn't come to that agreement, and understandably, Kyakota can't operate on that model, so we are where we are for that reason, so. I'm gonna throw that out, like, we all care about the animals, like Steve said. But we have to move forward.
Allison, I have a question for you. I have 3 comments from folks not here tonight, and I've got 1 person in the audience on Kyakota. Those are the topics. Is it okay to read those now, or should I wait until we get to the Kyakota section of the?
I would wait until you get to the Kyakota section. You should take the public comment on that resolution.
Okay, thank you. That's what I want to make sure. Any other questions? I think, Rob, we're good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got any other questions from council or comments? We have a motion. And clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Armstrong?
Aye.
Page?
Aye.
Solons?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. We're now back to the resolution terminating a contract between the city of Indianola and Kyakota. With that said, we as a council and city have received some comments from folks, so bear with me as I read these. Some of them are fairly lengthy, and let's try to keep me on a timer here too. From Jaden Eisenbrenner, 500 North Buxton, Indianola, Iowa. Thank you for the opportunity to write about the agenda item 8A2 regarding the resolution terminating the contract between the city of Indianola and Kyakota. My name is Jaden, or Jerry Eisenbrenner, and I'm a junior attending Simpson College. During my freshman year, I had the privilege to volunteer at Kyakota through the Wesley Service Scholars Program. Through volunteer work, I had the opportunity to witness the joy of adoption, more specifically the joy of adoption when the animal had been long-standing resident at the shelter. Additionally, I've been seeing the overwhelming care and dedication Kyakota workers have afforded the animals in their care, those with behavioral issues, extreme medical issues, etc. These are the exact reasons that shelters such as Animal Rescue League euthanize animals in their care. During my freshman year, I filed to have an emotional support animal, ESA, on campus to help alleviate certain issues that I experienced. My ESA Sybil was adopted from Kyakota and has become an integral part of not only my life, but the lives of others on campus. I've seen a tremendously positive shift in my experience on campus and could not imagine life without her. I know many on campus feel similarly about their own ESAs who are often adopted through Kyakota. For these reasons, I oppose item 8A2, dissolving this contract and supplementing it with a contract with Animal Rescue League. Leaves the futures of the animals in our community in jeopardy. Kyakota is committed to aiding any animal in need, no matter the barriers, which is something that myself and others hold dear. I have another one then from Andrea Warner at 614 Knoll Drive in Norwalk. On the termination of the contract, I understand the council needs to make cuts to be within their budget, but terminating the contract with Kyakota will be more detrimental and costly for the community overall. First, the police officers will have to dedicate resources into animal transport to ARL, which removes their ability from serving the local community for the time it takes to transport the animals to ARL and back to Indianola. They would be unable to respond to situations that may arise during transport. This will likely happen multiple times per day. Secondly, resources will need to be spent on having the officers be trained and capable of capturing stray dogs from the streets to prevent harm to either one. What would happen if an officer gets injured by a dog who's afraid and reacts aggressively to defend itself? I don't think the Indianola PD is ready to take on the task of animal transport without being detrimental in its ability to serve the people of Indianola. Lastly, the cost of boarding each animal can easily surpass the animal contract cost of maintaining Kyakota as an animal control service. Realistically, does the council expect a lot of dogs to be found and taken before the 7-day window wherein they have to pay the boarding fee? It will take 248 dogs who are boarded up for the minimum 7 days for the cost to surpass the animal cost of contract with Kyakota. I don't see the outside realm of possibility for that number to be reached I don't see it outside the realm of possibility that number be reached in a year. Another issue is that by terminating the contract with Kayakota, this council will effectively eliminate the ability of taking stray cats from the community. Arguably, the stray cat population is a bigger issue than the city needs to address, as cat populations can easily explode out of control if it isn't managed by local service like Kayakota. Service that's provided by Kayakota is invaluable to the community, and I hope the council reconsiders its decision to terminate the contract. The next item is from Sarah Moore Matthias, 500 North Buxton, Apartment 9, Indianola. Hello, my name is Sarah Moore Matthias. I'm a sophomore Simpson. As one of the UGA's undergraduate assistants of the Culver Fellowship, I hope that gives at least a little credibility to what I'm about to say. Last year, I've been working on a project involving animal shelters, focusing specifically on how the state of Iowa has some least restrict animal cruelty laws in the country. Doing my research, I came to understand the community-run shelters like Kayakota are some of the most important resources we have. When animals are surrendered to shelters, many people feel guilty knowing there's a possibility of euthanasia if the animals remain too long. We've all seen those sad ASPCA commercials, especially now around the holidays. You may wonder why lenient animal control cruelty laws matter in a conversation about shelters. When the laws are so lax, it creates an environment where backyard breeders can operate puppy and kitten mills with little oversight. Many of these animals eventually end up in shelters. Several reasons why I oppose the city cutting its contract with Kayakota, but my two biggest concerns are these. First, Animal Rescue League is not a no-kill shelter. They state they do not euthanize animals due to time constraints, but rather for severe health or aggressive behaviors. This might sound strange, but I have known many people with aggressive tendencies, and what they needed was not to be put down. They needed understanding and care. That's exactly what these animals need as well, and Kayakota does a phenomenal job of providing that. Second, we constantly hear the importance of supporting local businesses and organizations. Yet here is the city taking away funding from a locally run state-recognized nonprofit. You cannot preach supporting local initiatives and then withdraw support from one. That's hypocrisy at its finest. I'm assuming the city's motivation for ending the contract is financial, but placing a price on an animal is placing a price on a life. In closing, I urge the city to reconsider its decision. Kayakota is more than just a shelter. It's a lifeline for vulnerable animals and a pillar of our community. Removing its funding would not only harm the animals who rely on compassion and care, but would also undermine the values we claim to uphold as a community. I hope we choose compassion, responsibility, and integrity by continuing to support Kayakota and the work they do every single day. Lastly, we have Melissa Bartlett. She's in the audience. She's at 3588 Vermont Street, New Virginia, Iowa. Would you care to speak to the council?
Love to. In the past,
Just a moment. You'll have about 5 minutes max, okay?
that's fine. I
okay.
can talk in 5 minutes flat. I'm fast.
Okay.
In the past 2 years, my family foundation, the Bartlett Family Foundation, has donated over $100,000 to no-kill shelters in Florida and Iowa. I have personally volunteered at a no-kill shelter in Middleburg, Florida, and I've watched the animals suffer. And now I have donated $17,000 to the new shelter in Indianola. I believe that's very important, not only for the community to continue this, but I also believe as my family foundation, we need to continue to support no-kill shelters and allow the animals to have the opportunity to be adopted. And the TNR does work. They do it in Florida. I've seen it done. It works all the time. And the communities support it. They help with getting the animals spayed and neutered, vaccinated, and released back into the population. Last year in Middleburg, Florida, at Safe Animal Shelter, they had over 1,000 kittens that were relinquished, that were bottle fed. I personally bottle fed 9 kittens. I personally bottle fed 9 puppies. I've seen what it can do with TNR. It works. And by my support to other no-kill shelters, I'm allowing animals to have the opportunity to have families and homes, which I think is the most important thing that any animal deserves, because they are part of our family. And they're the nucleus of our family.
Thank you, Melissa. All right, we need a motion and a second. Resolution approving the terminating the contract between the city of Indianola and Kayakota.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Wade?
Motion carries 6-0. We are on to new business. Resolution, the first consideration of an ordinance amending recycling rates. Staff?
So every year, we look at the year-long CPIU to see what the average increase or decrease in cost of garbage haulers was. This year it was 4.8%. And so we're going to raise our recycling rates for just curbside recycling by 4.8%. And then we also look at the contract amount with Waste Management for the spring cleanup program and the fall cleanup program and the needs to go to the South Central Iowa landfill and figure out the cost of that based on the number of recycling customers that we have to come up with a new rate for recycling during 2026. So this recycling ordinance increases the monthly rate by 29 cents.
A motion and a second, and we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This is strictly just a pass-through, right?
Yep. Other questions? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Wade?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. City Manager's report, Mr. Meskey.
I think a lot of the good stuff has already been taken tonight, so I will work with the crumbs that are left over. I don't believe anyone touched on the extension of the brush facility, so I will mention that. The extension will keep our brush facility open through Sunday, December 7th. We will have a couple of days that'll be closed over the Thanksgiving holiday. We do have more information on our website, so anyone who has leaves or some items that they're trying to take to the facility, they've got a little bit extra time. Just note that the facility will close now after Sunday, December 7th. Police chief process, we are in the process of hiring the city's next police chief. We are continuing to navigate our way through that. The next date that will be of significant interest is on December 4th, which is a Thursday. We'll have an all-day interview process with the chiefs candidates, and then we'll be looking to hopefully make an announcement around the middle of December on who the next police chief will be. Previously referencing the Thanksgiving holiday, the Indianola Wellness Campus and the Parks and Recreation Department will close at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, November 26th. All non-emergency departments will be closed on Thanksgiving Day, which is the Thursday the 27th. And then all non-emergency departments will be closed on Friday, November 28th. However, on Friday, November 28th, IWC will be open from 8 a.m. to noon. But there will not be any group exercise, pool, or learn and play available. So just 4 hours with limited opportunities. I also wanted to note that the city has taken ownership of a new ambulance. It's been delivered. We are still going through the upfitting process, but Chief Hurt estimates that it will be on the road and operational in the first week of December. And for any council members who would like to see that, I'm certainly happy to let Chief Hurt take you through the bay and see our new investment. And for our residents, I hope you see it on the road, but don't actually need to use it yourself.
Thank you.
City members should have to use it.
No, we just see it just in its bay, right, where it's parked, not being used.
Okay, discussion and direction regarding the Council of Governments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
Okay, perfect. The Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, MIPA, has expressed an interest in seeking a Council of Governments or COG designation. A representative for MIPA provided an overview and benefits of becoming a COG at the November 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting. Some of those benefits would be that it would provide MIPA access to additional funding from the state of Iowa, eligibility to join the statewide COG initiatives, and the ability to invest through the Iowa Public Agency Investment Trust, IPA. As there will be an upcoming vote on this item, and the designated representative will have to vote on allowing this to move forward for MIPA. We wanted to get feedback from council to make sure that we were in alignment with allowing MIPA to move forward. Staff does recommend supporting MIPA's efforts to become a COG.
What's the council's feeling here?
I'd be in support of allowing them to, or at least try to become a COG. It's not a foregone conclusion, but.
Yeah, I don't see any drawbacks to it.
You got pretty much unanimous agreement there to go that.
Sound like it provided a lot of benefits.
Absolutely.
And some opportunities for additional funding.
As I mentioned at that meeting, when I was in Eastern Iowa, we had some real benefit in the small community that I was at from being part of a COG, so it is a good thing. Okay, you got what you need on that? Okay. Future agenda items, I'm just gonna put on there that I think somewhere along the line, we need to discuss Melissa's point about the fine schedule on dogs or animals loose, and so somewhere down the road, if we could talk about that, just have a discussion point in a study session, that'd probably be good. Anybody have anything else you wanna throw out there?
Yeah, it's been a little over a month ago, had a conversation with one of our citizens about transient merchandising. In other words, people coming to your door and selling things, and that they've had some issues. And I'd just like to put that on a future agenda to discuss a little bit about how we may take a look at the ordinance and how that's handled, just as far as identification. They were concerned more about some of the elderly people in town, although they said it also happens in their neighborhood, and just had some questions and gave me some good material that I'd make sure I share ahead of time.
Currently, we require a permit, don't we, for that?
We do. Yeah.
You may not get it, and residents
I
may
was
not
gonna say, I
know
think
to-
a lot of them that are going around don't go through the permitting process.
Or are identifiable, if that makes sense.
Some think that their company has done it, but they haven't, so.
I have a story I'll share with you.
Any other items we wanna discuss on a future agenda? When will abatement scheduled for the 3rd of December, is that the one we're doing now?
I know that we're in the process of having legal update the documents. Were we gonna have it in time for the first meeting in December? I think Bryce did this to us.
I don't know which date yet.
We will plan on it in December.
Okay, okay. First of the 15th, okay.
Along with the abatement change, at some point, I would like to discuss how we incentivize or promote the rehabilitation of homes and utilizing that.
Anything else? Future discussion. Good items, all good ones. We are then ready to,
Mayor, I'd recommend just taking a quick motion second on those items, just so we have solidified staff direction to bring those
do you
forward.
have those listed again, or?
Yeah, it was the fine schedule for animals, transient merchant conversation, and then promote rehabbing of established homes.
And the abatements we'll talk about later at a later date then, right?
Abatements, yeah, that'll just, as soon as we get the legal documents, those will be on a future agenda to solidify what we discussed at the council or study session.
Need a motion then to put those on a future study session discussion.
Second.
Motion is second. Clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Sons?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Okay, got it done. We've been requested to enter into we okay? He needs to.
He needs to do first.
Yes.
No,
Get down.
Okay, perfect. Mayor, members of the council, I'm requesting the city manager performance evaluation conversation occur in closed session because the comments regarding the evaluation of performance are unpredictable in nature, and I encourage the city council members to freely and candidly provide constructive feedback, but providing such feedback in open session is detrimental to my professional reputation.
We've been asked to enter in a closed session according to Iowa Code Section 21.5.1K to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session. I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sons?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong? Beach?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. We'll take about 4 minutes here and get into a closed session. So we'll take a 4-minute break and we need to clear the room then for the